Have you ever noticed how Wolverine's sarcasm makes you smile? Even though he's a monster? But She-Hulk's attempt at humor doesn't really take off. While some fans may find She-Hulk funny, here are 4 reasons Wolverine is better than she is. Wolverine isn't usually seen as a funny or joking character. He's mostly serious, tough, and even a bit moody because of his past and violent nature. But every now and then, he shows a bit of sarcasm with his sense of humor, which really gets fans laughing. While he's not a funny guy like Deadpool, when Wolverine makes a joke, it catches people off guard, making him even likable. But the humor doesn't hit the mark when it comes to She-Hulk. In fact, many people only watch She-Hulk to see other characters in action, not really for the comedy. While both She-Hulk and Wolverine mix action with a little comedy, She-Hulk just doesn't do it as well as Wolverine because Wolverine is loved. The best joke is when it is made by someone you like, and that is very true with Wolverine. People love Wolverine because he is a cool and tough dude, and secondly, everyone can relate to him. Nay, he is not just a man with claws and the ability to heal. That's old. He has more. Honestly, he has layers and layers and has suffered enough, lost, and experienced hardships in life that people want to see him succeed. Though he sometimes has a rough exterior, his loyalty and sense of honor should be admired. It's the simple fact that Wolverine doesn't have to be fancy or overly heroic, he just has to be himself, and people will come. He is imperfect, yet one can see him more as an endearing human being with all his powers. This makes people really enjoy his funny moments, especially those he doesn't plan to do. Being loved also means that the fans can relate with you well, and that's just one thing that would make any character's humor really hit home. Wolverine is more relatable because he's not trying to be liked. He's rough around the edges, doesn't care about impressing anyone, and does things his way. Fans appreciate that honesty and straightforwardness. On the other hand, She-Hulk hasn't connected with fans in the same way. While strong, smart, and capable, her character often feels like it's trying too hard to be funny or different. She breaks the fourth wall, cracks jokes, and has a lighter tone. But this doesn't always land with fans. Some feel that She-Hulk lacks the emotional depth or the serious, grounded traits that make characters like Wolverine so beloved. Her humor can sometimes feel forced, and while that works for some people, it doesn't hit the mark for everyone. In the end, Wolverine is loved because he's real. His struggles, his attitude, and even his humor feel genuine. She-Hulk, while still a cool character in her own right, just hasn't connected with audiences in the same deep, lasting way. And maybe it's because of the second reason here. Wolverine doesn't try so hard to be funny. If you really want people to laugh at a joke, keep it real and simple and not look like you desperately wish to the guys listening to laugh. This is the edge Wolverine has over She-Hulk. Wolverine doesn't have to do much to be funny. His humor comes from his natural personality, gruff, no nonsense, and a little bit cranky. He's not cracking jokes to get a laugh, but his sarcastic comments and deadpan delivery make people laugh anyway. Wolverine's humor works simply because it feels effortless. He's just being himself, a tough guy with a sharp wit who isn't afraid to say what he thinks, no matter how blunt or harsh it might be. Fans love that about him because it's genuine and fits his character perfectly. He's not a comedian, he's a warrior, and that makes his humor all the more unexpected and funny. We really saw that play out in Deadpool and Wolverine when the duo first met with Cassandra Nova. He wasn't trying so hard to get fans laughing, he was really in his natural element, but the scene got everyone laughing. On the other hand, She-Hulk tries too hard to be funny, and that's where she often misses the mark. She's known for breaking the fourth wall and talking directly to the audience, which is supposed to be clever and playful, but it doesn't always land how intended. Just look at how Deadpool does his work, and you'll know what She-Hulk is really missing. Instead of feeling like a natural extension of her character, it can come across as forced. She-Hulk often makes quippy remarks and tries to add humor to her situations, but the jokes can sometimes fall flat. It feels like she's trying to make the audience laugh, and that effort takes away from the humor. Nobody will laugh if the joke is dry, no matter how much you try to force it. The continual use of jokes and over-reliance on confidence makes it appear that she is trying too hard to be loved by others. Cool real-life moments sometimes do not require forced humor, and the timing of the jokes can sometimes be averted so that you can show more of the personality of the character. This is where Wolverine shines. As long as people laugh at his jokes or not, he just doesn't mind ending up doing it. The exterior shell and the sarcastic tendency make fans laugh, even if he never attempts to be the comedian. Wolverine stands out because his humor results from his actions and reactions to the world around him. For example, Wolverine could be in a high-stakes battle, but still mutter a sarcastic comment or roll his eyes in a way that lightens the mood without trying too hard. That effortless humor is what fans connect with because it feels real. Even more, Wolverine doesn't take himself too seriously. When people don't take you too seriously, they probably won't laugh at anything you do. But when you don't take yourself too seriously, everything you do really looks like a joke, which would make people laugh. Wolverine does the same thing, which makes fans love Deadpool, but in a different way. He doesn't take the whole superhero thing seriously. Wolverine's role as a reluctant hero is a big part of what makes him funny. He's not out to be anyone's savior or to proudly wear the hero title. In fact, Wolverine often grumbles about the whole thing, which makes him relatable and hilarious, especially because of how he complains about it. When Deadpool meets with him, he isn't ready for any saving of the world. He's the kind of guy who would rather be left alone, yet he always finds himself caught up in saving the day. His gruff attitude and reluctance to jump into action create humor because it feels like he's constantly being dragged into situations he'd rather avoid. His dry, sarcastic remarks about these situations show he's not taking himself, or the hero gig, too seriously. And that's where a lot of the comedy comes in. It was hilarious to warn the guys about going back to meet Cassandra Nova, and he just remarked that they are all fucking dead. Wolverine's whatever approach to being a hero is funny because it contrasts with the seriousness of his situations. He's in the middle of life or death battles, but instead of acting noble or overly heroic, he's often annoyed and quick with a sarcastic comment. He doesn't see himself as a grand protector of the world, and his reluctance to accept that role adds to his charm. It's like he's the tough guy who just happens to be in the right place at the right time, and even though he doesn't want to, he ends up saving the day. That nonchalant attitude keeps him from becoming too serious, and his humor naturally shines through as a result. On the other hand, She-Hulk is a self-assured lawyer who takes pride in her role, whether in the courtroom or as a superhero. She embraces her dual identity with confidence, and while that's empowering, it leaves less room for the kind of humor that comes from not wanting to be a hero. Sometimes it seems like she takes things too seriously. How would anyone expect such a person to be funny? She-Hulk's confidence and assurance can make her seem like she's always in control, which is admirable, but it lacks the unpredictability that Wolverine brings. She's witty and sharp, but her jokes often come from her trying to be funny, whereas Wolverine's humor results from him not trying. Ultimately, Wolverine's reluctance to be a hero and his laid-back attitude make him funny without even trying. At the same time, She-Hulk's self-assured nature leaves less room for the kind of humor that comes from not taking things too seriously. Speaking about not taking things too seriously, the next thing also makes Wolverine hilarious: Wolverine's sharp wit. That is why Wolverine's jokes and comments are quite often, and he always finds himself a suitable reply. He is not as straightforward as Deadpool when it comes to making jokes. However, the humor he throws in the middle of the battle while roasting people, including his friends and foes, adds humor to the picture. Wolverine is not an introverted, timid man who will walk away and just observe. He will always have some quite smart comment or just a word that will leave everyone speechless. For example, when Deadpool thinks himself to be Marvel's Jesus and God's perfect hero,
I am Marvel Jesus.
Wolverine calls him God's perfect idiot.
You really are God's perfect idiot, aren't you?
The answer is yes.
His banter often catches others off guard because it's so fast, blunt, and unexpected, especially coming from a guy who's as serious and intense as he is. And because it's so fast, it is easy to move away from any sarcastic remark that doesn't hit the mark. Whether it's Cyclops, Storm, or someone else in the X-Men, Wolverine has a knack for throwing out a sarcastic remark that breaks the tension. But it's never mean-spirited. It's more like tough love. He may make fun of his teammates, but he's fiercely loyal to them, which makes his jabs all the more funny. He says what everyone's thinking, but might be too afraid to say, and that honesty adds to the humor. She-Hulk, or Jennifer, doesn't do this. She starts off confident, thinking she knows everything and doesn't need anyone's advice, not even the one person she should seek advice from. The Hulk. And that's not really something fans want to see because it is the free and jovial heroes who really make fans laugh.